You should be going live. Hey, hey, hey. So happy Wednesday to you guys. Happy Inauguration Day. I know this is a little bit off schedule and totally my fault, but I am glad to have with me today my good friend and classmate, Dr. Yolanda Ragland. Hey, Yolanda, how are you?
Hi, Stephanie. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm so excited to have you on today. And what about today? This is just has been amazing, has it not?
Today's been amazing. I'm here at my Park Avenue office, and I made sure that my office manager kept the TV on all day. We don't usually have it on, and I was like,
Uh-huh.
"Keep it on." I just need to make sure everything's okay because last Wednesday was, you
Yeah,
know, pure catastrophe.
absolutely. Absolutely. But this was like history. I mean, of course, I had to sport my pearls today. There's just, when I think about like you and I, like being little girls, or like I have a daughter, and like today to see Kamala get sworn in. I mean, that just, who
I
would have
mean,
thought?
actually, you mentioned earlier that we were classmates, and people don't understand how far rooted that goes. We were classmates in a high school that was surrounded by a cornfield with an equestrian center right down the roadway, and there weren't a lot of Black people there, and I don't know if this was your recollection, but my recollection of being there was that most of the Black folks that went to that school, they placed them in special education classes.
Yes.
And I knew a lot of these people, and I don't think that they were special education people. I think that they just did that. So just our background and from whence we came and where
Right.
we started, yeah, that's a big deal. And the other little snippet I want to put in there is that I always boast this. I'm like, we went to school in Montgomery County, Maryland, which at the time was the wealthiest county in the whole
Right.
entire country. And
Hmm.
our principal was the highest paid principal, and she was making in the 80s, early 80s, $50,000 a year. And that's like
Yeah, that's not.
crazy.
Yeah, fifty thousand
That
dollars.
was big money.
That is hilarious. And you know what? We we were in the middle of a cornfield. Do you remember? I mean, like
I
literally, there
got
was.
lost in that cornfield. No,
That is so funny. So what I want to do is I'm actually going to put a little ticker on, which is going to let everybody know how to get in contact with you. And then I want to kind of talk about who you are, because I know they're like, well, who is this girl that Stephanie has on today that she's sharing these memories with? And what did she do? So hopefully everybody can see that. And I'm going to have our comments coming up so we can kind of see when someone is talking to us. So let me get back to that screen. All right, so here we are. We're good. We are good, good, good. So anyway, let's get down to the nitty gritty. Yolanda, you are a Park Avenue podiatrist from Montgomery County, Maryland. So how does this little chocolate girl that went to a high school in the middle of the cornfields, first of all, how does she decide that she wants to be a podiatrist? And then how do you get there? Because I mean, that's amazing. That's just crazy.
the journey, it wasn't a short one. I didn't know what I wanted to do. What I did, I found myself at a very early age living on my own. So I moved out of the area where we lived. The rural life was just not for me. and and so as soon as I got enough money to move closer to DC, I did. And I moved out at the age of 19 years old. And by the time I was around 22, that's when a lot of people were starting to graduate from
Uh-huh.
undergraduate. And I saw a lot of friends of mine coming out of undergraduate, not getting jobs in what they went to school for. And I
Mm,
was just like, what a waste. And I had done some college, don't get me wrong. I did a
right,
little bit of community college. I did a little, I dabbled.
right.
And so I realized at that time, I said, well, whatever I do, I'm going to make sure that I'm putting that degree to use. I just can't fathom myself spending all this energy, time, and money and not actually utilizing the degree. That was my mentality back then. Nowadays,
Right.
I'd be like, yeah, that's not a big deal, even if you don't do that. But back then, that's where my mindset was. So I'm not downplaying anybody who has a degree in something and they're doing something completely different than that.
Right. Right.
So I said, and I didn't come from, I feel like I came from very humble beginnings. We weren't wealthy. And so I was just like, and there were no professionals in the family. And so
Okay.
I'm like, I want to be a doctor or a lawyer. And no lie, I'm like, you know what? Arguing is so easy. So
Uh-huh.
I think I'll go into medicine.
Wow, that's you're like, I'm not gonna waste my time with other stuff. I'm just gonna go into medicine. That's what I'm gonna
Like
do.
arguing's so easy. I wanted a challenge. That's what it
Okay.
was. I wanted the challenge. So I decided to do that. I pursued that track. Being living in the Washington metropolitan area, I knew about the National Institutes of Health. I made sure I secured a position there, as a stay in school student. But the thing that I made very clear to the people that were hiring me, I'm like, even though I could type like 60 words a minute, I mean, I was ready for secretarial school out of the school that we came out of, because they prepared you for everything.
Yes.
And I was just like, no, I don't want any administrative work. I want to be in a lab. I want to do research. I want to do scientific work. And so I secured a position there. Even after graduating from undergraduate, I stayed there for another 2 years as a fellow. And then, I started applying to medical schools. And I had a friend of mine that was working there, and she was in medical school. And I would get these applications from podiatry school, and I kept throwing them away because I didn't know what it was.
You're like, what is this?
And this girl, and I remember her name. Her name is Sharon Eyes. I wish I could meet up with her again. Sharon Eyes. She goes, Yolanda, stop throwing those away. That's medical school. She's like, that's medical school. And she was married at the time. And she goes, my husband's going to podiatry school right now, if you want to talk to him about it. And I backpedal. When I was at the National Institutes of Health, I was in the dermatology branch of the National Cancer Institute. So it was I had a lot of dermatology background out the gate.
Okay.
And so I thought I wanted to be a dermatologist. So she goes, if you want to practice dermatology, there's hair, skin, and nails on the foot. Apply to the school. She's like, so I applied, I got in, and I wound up in New York City. I got into podiatry school, didn't know that there was this whole surgical aspect of it. I mean, talk about serendipity. When I found out that there's like all this surgery involved, I was like, oh my God. Later for the derm part, my hands are good. I'm very dexterous. I'm very good at duplicating something. If somebody shows me something, especially when it comes to using your hands, I can do it.
Right.
I can figure that thing out. And as soon as I found out about the surgical aspect, I said, I'm going to have a practice. It's going to be called Fix Your Feet. Everybody laughed at me. Everyone laughed at me, and now I'm laughing. And then after that, after I graduated from podiatry school, I made sure I went to a residency program where I would get a lot of surgical training. So nowadays, everyone gets surgically trained. When I was in school, everybody did not get surgically trained. In fact, I think even a few years before I had graduated, you didn't even have to do a residency program. So they've made it over the years. I mean, like, podiatry has really leveled up over the years. So everyone has to do a surgical program. But I had to compete with 55 other people for 5 surgical spots in my residency program. And like I said, I I chose this specific program that has a Weill Cornell affiliation,
Mm-hmm.
and I knew I would be in the OR with a lot of heavy hitters.
Mm.
And so I just made sure I was in the right rooms, and I did. I'd be the first one there and the last one to leave.
Mm-hmm.
I'd ask all the right questions. I think because I was more mature and in age, so I had lived a life. I had, from the age of 19 years old, I'm paying all of my bills,
Mm-hmm.
car insurance, all of these things. And, I'm going to school with a whole bunch of kids that never did any of these things. This was the first time they ever lived outside of their home.
Right.
So I think that put me at an advantage when it came to getting my training, getting
Mm-hmm.
my surgical training. I knew how to get that knife out of my
Okay.
out of my attending's hand.
Okay.
And then I met the person I'm a partner with still to this day as a
Okay.
resident, and he was looking for an associate to come in. And this guy had done Wendy Williams' feet,
Mm-hmm.
and I did this interview with him, and he goes, you're gonna I have to interview a few other people. I'm gonna interview some other people from your program.
Mm-hmm.
And I literally said, you're interviewing those people from my program? And I said, okay, go ahead,
Uh-huh.
interview those people. I said, I'm the person that's going to be in this office.
Right.
And
Right.
he looked at me and he goes, that's a really good answer. I said, they're not suited for this. I'm like, you have a lot of African American women coming into this practice. They don't want to
Right.
see those jokers.
Right.
They want to see me.
Right.
and
Okay.
and then the rest is history. We're partners now. We have two separate practices, but we share the space and we help each
Mm-hmm.
other out.
Mm-hmm.
That sort of partnership. Yeah, and that's me. And so I just decided that I was going to fix feet with a cosmetic result because I understood what foot beauty and health means to the
Mm-hmm.
African American community and diaspora. I think that we take it to a whole nother level.
Okay.
Again, we're Generation Xers and Eddie Murphy and Boomerang and
Oh yeah,
and
Boomerang.
and Sunshine, and I'm mixing up movies, but
Yeah,
anyway.
that's okay.
But you Xers know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about. So yeah, feet are really important, and I saw a lot of really bad results on
Mm.
black skin. And and the thing is, it's not like the doctors were doing this intentionally. They're
Right.
just doing exactly what they were doing on white skin. And
Right.
when they do that exact same procedures on white skin, it would come out fine.
Right.
But it doesn't translate on black skin.
Gotcha.
So me with my derm background and also really listening to when we had lecturers that would talk about how do you get a cosmetic result. I took those notes. I always retained it.
Mm-hmm.
And I still do this. It's like it's suturing 101. It's like everybody's trained how to do this,
Right.
yet no one does it.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha. Gotcha. So you take podiatry to a different level. It's not just fixing your feet. It's like, let me fix your feet and make them pretty.
Right. And that's my major differentiator. I'm
Uh-huh.
the only person globally who looks like me
Uh-huh.
and who does the procedure that I do. Even if they didn't look like me, there's nobody else that's getting it in the way that I am and getting it and getting the results that I'm getting the way that I am. And I think that because I feel so familiar
Mm-hmm.
to the majority of the people that want this procedure done, because if you look at the ratio
Okay.
of who's getting this done, African American women are by far signing up for this procedure more than their white cohorts, Latino cohorts, anything. We are beating them out if you look at the ratio.
Okay.
So it just made sense that there should be an African American woman that is performing these procedures
Mhm.
the way that the ladies want it to be done.
I gotcha. So you're speaking of procedures. What is probably like the thing that you see most?
I would say the biggest thing are I'm going to use a general term, the broad term, hammer toes.
Okay.
So, and it's synonymous with having corns, and corns don't have to be hard.
Okay.
Corns can be, you can have precorns. So on black skin, precorn might be hyperpigmented, where a hard corn will be hypopigmented, and you would actually hypopigmented hard corn, you could actually shave off the skin
Mhm.
with a very sharp blade, versus a soft corn, you could not do that. You would cut the skin if you did that.
Right.
So that's probably what most people come in for. But the other big thing is are bunions.
Mhm.
And you have the bunion that's associated with the big toe, and you
Mhm.
also have a bunion net or a tailor's bunion that's associated with the pinky toe.
Now you just taught me something there. I didn't know that you could have one on the pinky toe.
Oh,
Right on
well,
that
when I
pinky
say
toe.
the pinky toe, the bone right below the pinky toe.
Right. Right.
And then of course a lot of people just want their toes shortened. They don't
Really?
realize, yeah. So when you correct a hammer toe, it does require, people think it's a skin problem. It's really not a skin problem, it's a bone problem.
Okay.
The toes are contracting, the
Mhm.
joints or the knuckles are rubbing up against the shoe, so the skin gets traumatized, and now it needs to protect itself, so it forms an armor, or it starts getting
Mm.
discolored. It starts off with discoloration, hyperpigmentation, and then it can go on further. And then the ultimate worst thing that we can do as Black people is use the salicylic acid, because it's
Mm.
exactly that. It's acid. It burns the skin. It can't differentiate good skin from bad skin. So a lot of these ladies have started out with just a little hyperpigmentation,
Mhm.
thinking that this stuff was going to work for them. They
Mhm.
put it on there, it burns their skin. Now they have a hard corn and it never reverts back. And the only way to get it to revert back is by having surgical intervention, period.
That's crazy. So we're talking about like the hammer toes and bunions. I've always heard, and so you can correct me and school me now, that when you wear high heel shoes, that's what, like, having your feet in those shoes is what causes bunions and hammer toes or yeah.
So the answer is no and yes.
Okay.
So bunions are not necessarily well, bunions are not caused by shoes.
Okay.
Bunions, a bunion is a biomechanical issue, which means how there are muscles and tendons that surround the bony structures, and
Mhm.
how those muscles and tendons pull, tug, push. That's that's what causes the bones to come out of alignment. So a
Mm.
heel is not necessarily doing that. It can exacerbate the problem, can make
Okay.
it can worsen it, and it can make it get worse faster.
Mhm.
But even if you go when you go to places where people don't wear shoes at all, there are people that have bunions. So
Mm.
that's just that's the evidence alone. Shoes do not cause bunions. Now, hammer toes also can be a or and is a biomechanical issue,
Okay.
but it's certainly, you certainly can get hammer toes from ill-fitted shoes. So you might not have that biomechanical issue, but
Uh-huh.
if you're wearing shoes that are too small and they're just sitting like this
Right.
inside the shoe all the time, they're gonna wind up staying that way, and you're going to get trauma to the tops of the digits, or the toes, and you're going to wind up getting corns and getting hammering of the digits or the toes.
Do you find that a lot of females come in with that being the reason why they have that?
I think that if the most of the people that come in with that being the reason, I would say more often it was because some of these ladies come from extremely humble beginnings and their parents just simply could not afford to buy them new pairs of shoes.
Okay.
And so that was, I hear that story a lot.
Hmm.
Um, but there are the others that are just really vain and don't want to have big feet for whatever reason it is.
Hmm.
And that so they're wearing shoes that are they're just not their size. And so that will definitely cause a hammer toe.
Oh, painful, just painful. So, a couple more questions. So, like when you wear heels, and after a while, like the balls of your feet are on fire. What is that, and what causes that?
So, part of that, well, usually when you have anything that's associated with feeling like burning or on fire in your foot is usually nerve related. So, perhaps your foot has been in a declinated angle for such a long time that you have irritated those nerves. Now, the other reason why that can happen is because we have something called a fat pad that's underneath our foot, and there is in strategic areas for
Mm.
shock absorption. And over time, especially with age, one can get something called fat pad atrophy, which means the fat pad just basically starts to disintegrate.
Mm.
This can occur naturally over time. Some people it just happens to them. Other people it happens because say they might have plantar fasciitis, which is
Okay.
heel pain after having the first few steps in the morning. And they could go into a podiatrist or someone else, and they might get too many cortisone injections. And the cortisone injections, if you use too many, because the rule is you shouldn't have more than 3 in 1 year, and that's in any part of your body.
Right.
So, but you have a lot of people that do not follow this rule.
Hmm.
They overuse the drug, and what happens is that the person winds up getting fat pad atrophy. I mean, after 3 injections, if they're not getting relief, then
Uh-huh.
I mean, there are definitely other things that they can resort to, even surgical measures, which are minimally invasive.
Wow, I didn't even realize that there's actually a surgical, you
Uh,
know.
I I think that plantar fasciectomies, the way that I do it, it's such a simple and elegant procedure. It gives you instant relief. It's
Nice.
superficial, so it's not like it's like when I do bunion and hammertoe surgery, that's bone surgery. The
Right.
deeper you go, the more painful it is. The
Uh-huh.
plantar fascia is very superficial. It's right underneath the skin. You do a stab incision, you nick it, you lengthen it, you get more length there, and you get instantaneous relief.
Wow, that's beautiful. That's amazing. That's amazing. So, let's talk about some athletes. Okay, not just athletes, not just track. Well, I will. Like the runners. Runners. You run for a while, and then your feet are just like dancers. The feet are they're just they're no longer the pretty feet that we want them to be. So for runners, what is pretty much the main cause of a runner's foot looking like it's been through heck and back?
Well, I mean, if it, especially when you're talking about uh, people that are doing short energy burst, I mean, you're really there's a lot of impact that you're
Hmm.
getting to the foot. And I'm sure Stephanie, we ran track together.
I know.
And those cleats, they're kind of narrow, and I mean they can't be too big.
Right.
You can't
They,
have your
they
cleats
have
fall
to
off
fit.
while you're running.
Right. They have
so,
to fit.
so they have to fit, and
Uh-huh.
so I think a lot of it just comes down to shoe gear. And I mean,
Mhm.
I think with any major athlete, I mean, there's lots of athletes out there, tennis players,
Right.
basketball players, football players. There's so many of them. I don't want to foot shame them, but I'm like,
Right.
please come and see me when you stop. When you put down that ball or whatever it is you're doing, please come and see me, because we can fix that pinky toe that's sticking up in the air like that.
All right. So let's talk about flat feet now. I'm trying to look. I'm trying to get everything I can get in really quick, so that.
Okay.
Okay. So, I know a lot of soldiers end up with flat feet. Okay, but then there are the little people like kids and stuff that they're walking and you can immediately see like the little turning in of their feet.
Hmm.
When they're so young, let me backtrack. First off, what is the cause of that? Is there something that can be done at an earlier age that we can start to kind of correct that so that we don't have problems later?
Well, again, it all boils down to the biomechanics of the foot,
Mhm.
how your bony structures form, and you inherit all these things. So it really does go back to, it's not uh it's I'm so it's I usually wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, so I'm at a loss for words. But it's congenital, but it's not at birth congenital. It's acquired. That's what it is. It's congenitally acquired. You acquire it over time. Um, and there are things you can wear orthotics, you can
Uh-huh.
use heel lifts, you can use arch supports. These You can get shoes that do have more arch support in them.
Okay.
I'm not a huge fan of flat foot reconstruction unless you are in excruciating pain.
Mhm.
And that's because that is not a haircut. That is not a hammer toe surgery. That's not a bunion procedure. Like that's some real ish, for lack of a better term.
Uh-huh. Right. I got you. I got you.
I'm not, like I said, I'm not a big fan of it. I think that you should be at the point where you're in so much pain that you do understand the risk and complications that could come along with having flat foot surgery.
Gotcha, gotcha. Because that is, it seems like people that are flat feet, at least for my athletes, the ones that are flat footed, they tend to be the ones that they end up with the knee problems and they end up with the hip problems and stuff. And I guess your feet are the source of a lot of pain that could be in your upper body.
Yeah, and it may not, and sometimes it may not even particularly be the flat footedness per se, but what were they being treated with in
Okay.
earlier years? I mean,
Uh-huh.
like I said, this is not my quote, but a doctor once said cortisone is a wonderfully horrible drug. And it really is. It's
Right.
a great drug. It knocks
Hmm.
out inflammation. If you have scar tissue in an area, it can help break up the scar tissue.
Hmm.
But if it's not used properly, it can just wreak havoc and do damage. And I think I would propose that maybe some of these people have all these issues in other parts of their body because of how they're being treated.
Ah, gotcha. Gotcha. So, I'm sitting here reading notes here. So, what kind of advice would you give to women, since we have mostly women that are going to be on my watching this, to have strong, healthy feet? So that they don't have to make. Not that we're trying to put you out of business, but
Oh, no, 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 no! I will never go out of
I
business.
know this.
Okay, I'm good. You live long enough, your feet will fail you. Okay, what I would say is I always say wear your shoes responsibly.
Mhm.
So I'm not the podiatrist that you come into, and I'm not going to tell you, oh, well, you're going to have to wear some orthopedic, extra in-depth inlay shoes. Don't nobody want to hear all that.
Right.
Okay, nobody wants to wear that. Nobody, it's ugly. Nobody wants to hear that. So what I would say is wear your shoes
Uh-huh.
responsibly. Bring with you your safety shoes. Don't wear your beautiful stilettos out on the pavement, out on the street. And first of all, you're going to ruin them. They're expensive. Why would you wear your shoes out on the pavement to walk a few blocks when you can simply switch into something else
Uh-huh.
to do that? And give your feet a break. You don't need to stand in 3-inch, 4-inch, 5-inch heels 8 hours straight. It's just unreasonable for you to think that you're going to have maintain good foot health if you do that.
Right. Gotcha. And so I noticed, let me just ask you this. So I see on your IG page, you often will do live surgeries on your page. So, so I hear you guys. So if you haven't seen this down the bottom, you can see Yolanda in action, Dr. Ragland in action at Fix Your Feet on Instagram. And you do these live surgeries and you're kind of going through, and of course you kind of preface that, hey, we're getting ready to do these things. What inspired you to start allowing, like, people to sit there and watch you do these surgeries?
Well, I well, I don't allow them to watch me do the surgery. There's always a team in the OR. So it's really funny because a lot of times the patients will come and they're like, why are there so many people here? I'm like, because you are special and
Right.
we need to make sure that you stay safe. And
Right.
that's why all of these people are here. So
Mhm.
oftentimes, as long as I'm not revealing the identity of the person, all you're seeing is just the foot and
Right.
some blue towels. So,
Right.
and I think that it's very informative. I think it's very educational. And also, I mean, sometimes when you see something repulsive, you can't look away. So part of it is I am trying to gain your attention. I mean, that
Right.
is a small portion of it. But I think that understanding that to get proper correction, it does, call to action to have bone surgery, which can be extremely frightening for someone who thinks that I just have a skin problem
Right.
to do. I think that demonstrating, like, hey, this is what I do, and this is what it looks like if you're patient and you wait a few months, because I call myself the foot fairy, but trust, there's no magic wand, there's no fairy dust. It doesn't happen overnight. They evolve into what you see on my before and after results.
Gotcha. So you don't consider yourself a regular podiatrist. You actually have almost like a concierge type of service to your practice, right? Where you really cater to your patients. So you're not just getting, oh, this is Dr. Ragland. You're getting,
Oh, every person that has a surgical procedure by me gets my personal cell phone number. So this same phone that I'm recording on StreamYard with you is the same phone that patients will call me on, will text me on, that my son calls me on, my husband calls me on, my mom and my brother call me on. So I only have one phone, and it's hard to keep up with this one. So yeah, I do allow patients to call me. It is a different level of service. I decided I am what you call an out of network provider, or non-par, non-participating provider. So I don't participate with any insurance plan. However, many people have plans that have out of network benefits, and I can accept some of those plans as all or partial payment for my procedures. As a non-par doctor, it pays a lot differently than what the in-network guys. So I'm able to lend myself to my patients in a greater way than anybody else can. So I'll sit down there when people come in, they're nervous. Like I said, it's bone surgery, it's
right,
frightening. I
right.
will entertain all the questions that they have. I will sit there until they feel comfortable. And even if they don't feel comfortable, I'm like, okay, you know what? Why don't you sleep on this?
Right.
If you have any more questions, I'll even here's my phone number. You can text me, you can call me if you
Oh,
have some
that's
more questions.
great.
So and like I said, my practice does target African American women,
Mhm.
and I think it's something that we have really been thirsty for. I think that and I would love to I encourage other Black doctors to think about being non-par doctors, because there are a lot of ladies out here, and a lot of men for that matter. They're tired of waiting in these really crazy crowded uh, waiting rooms with the doctors, and only getting to spend 5 minutes with them, with
Mhm.
the doctor, and then if they want to ask a question, they can't ask the question to the doctor. um, people want a different level of service, and I think that they deserve different level of service. But I don't think it's available for them.
Right. Gotcha. I think that what the service that you're providing is phenomenal, and I want to thank you for that.
Thank you.
So, so guys and dolls, if you guys would like to meet up with Dr. Yolanda Ragland, all of her information is right down the bottom in the ticker. And Yolanda, I appreciate you so much for taking the time and coming on and chatting with me. I don't think we've talked since, not really talked since we met up in New York, but
I know. And thank you so much for thinking of me. I really appreciate it. Any way to get the word out is really important to me.
absolutely. We're going to have to, COVID needs to go away really quickly so that we can get together. Oh, by the way, has COVID really affected your practice any?
Oh, actually, it affected my practice in an extremely positive way. So what happened was a lot of people started working from home. And so these ladies that had these extremely rigorous work schedule, and they wanted some of their privacy. They don't want people to know what they're doing. They were like, I'm working from home. I'm only going to be gone for one day as far as, the office is concerned.
Right.
And so really, I mean, like I had people literally that were scheduled later out in the year in 2020 and scheduled to have their surgery done when COVID was like bonkers in New York. And they're like, nope, I need to do this right now. And
they're going to be at home, so they might as well get it done.
Yeah, and we made sure that they were safe. There were lots of precautions, and mind you, I want to remind people. I think that podiatry kind of like gets this bad rap of, we're kind of like the stepchildren of medicine, and some people trivialize, well, it's just the foot. It's just the foot. Well, if anybody has ever broken their foot, if they've ever not been able to use their feet for a while, it is something really important. So these are things that need to be done. These people are in pain.
Right.
And really the biggest reason why they don't take the time off from work is because they don't feel like being shamed for fixing their feet, which is crazy because if you have a hernia, you're going to go get that done and nobody's going to shame you for fixing your hernia. But somebody will trivialize the fact that someone's fixing their feet, which I find oddly strange.
You're right. They do. People they put their feet on the back burner when feet are actually super duper important because, first of all, they carry us everywhere we go.
It's your foundation. It's your whole foundation. And so they're just like, oh, well, that's not urgent. I'm like, oh yeah? Oh, okay. You see what it's like. Yeah. Let me see how you do when your feet don't work well. I don't even know how that's ringing over there. There's a ghost in here, but because my phone's in airplane mode.
That's so funny. So I'm not going to hold you up because I know that you've had a long day today because you get really early, and I know you want to get home to your young man.
I do.
Who is super duper adorable. But I cannot let you escape without the famous Pivo Questions, made famous by an actor in France many years ago he was a writer, and he had a show where these 10 questions he would close out his show. And the late James Lipton from inside the actor studio, he also would close his show with his interview with these 10 questions. So here we go.
Okay.
First off, what's your favorite word?
Moist.
Okay, I was not expecting that one. Okay, so what's your least favorite word?
What's my least favorite word? That's a tough one. Can I go on to the next one? Can I come back to that?
Absolutely, we can do that. So What turns you on? Creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
Um, what turns me on is enlightenment. I think that people that can see the trees past the forest, see, enlightenment really, really turns me on. I think that there's not enough enlightened people out there. I think that even the people that think that they're enlightened
Uh-huh.
are not. So I think, and especially within the African American diaspora, I think
Uh-huh.
there's a lot of waking up to do. Everybody's talking about people being woke. Y'all ain't woke enough.
All right.
So that turns me on, in every facet of my being.
Gotcha. Gotcha. That's really good, though. I don't think I've ever heard anybody say enlightenment, but that is awesome. That's a good one. So, what turns you off?
Um, Ignorance.
Okay.
No, I take that back. Stupidity.
And there is a difference. There's definitely a difference.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what's your favorite curse word?
Oh, what's my favorite? It's probably a phrase.
Okay.
So let's just say BAN as the acronym. She's thinking, she's trying to
I
figure
don't
it
know
out.
that one. I don't know that one.
It's well, the first letter in BAN starts with a B.
Mhm. Gotcha. I gotcha. I gotcha. But you know what? That's a good one. That is a good one. Kudos to that one. Okay. Okay. So, what sound or noise do you love?
I love the sound of the ocean.
Oh, we are kindred spirits. Let me tell
Yeah.
you, there's just something about it. But then again, you're from Trinidad and Tobago, so that
Yeah,
has to
my
be,
mom is for sure. But yeah, the
yeah.
sound of the ocean. If I had to be any animal, it would be a whale. I mean, honestly.
Just swimming around, just having a good old time.
They get to roam 75% of this planet.
Yeah, okay. You're right.
Better
You're
than
right.
that.
That's right. That is so right. What sound or noise do you hate?
Oh, I hate the sound of styrofoam. I cannot
Ooh.
stand. Oh my god. Ugh. Woo! I'm like, somebody's got to open that up. Can't do it.
Okay. So, besides the profession you're in, what other profession would you want to try?
Oh well, I thought I was going to be a rapper.
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, I moved to country ass Gaithersburg. That's what happened. I was in a group called the Rapper Tackers. I don't know if you ever recall Frank Ski.
Uh-huh.
He used to take us around, and we used to tour around. And when I lived in Wheaton, Maryland, I was with two other girls, and we were the Rapper Tackers. We had actually made a song to Mr. Big Stuff before Heavy D did.
Oh.
So yeah, I would be in the music industry for sure, some way, somehow. I have a very good ear for, I can't play an instrument, but I have a very good ear for music. I know what's good. I'm like, no, pull this out. I would be that person in the sound studio. You gotta bring this up a little bit, drop that back. That
Right.
would be me if I had actually thought that that was something I could really do as to sustain me, which I think I could have actually done it if I had just really pursued it.
Okay. Rapper yo-yo.
I was Princess Yo-Yo, whatever.
Okay, girl, I hear you.
And I
Okay.
was Princess Yo-Yo before Yo-Yo.
All right. You're right.
Okay.
You're
All
right.
right.
You're right. I got you. Okay. So, what profession would you not like to
Oh, I could never be an eye doctor.
Really?
There's two things I used to in my residency. So when you're a resident, they don't know you as a podiatrist from anything else. You rotate through all these different things.
Right.
And the first thing I would tell them when I got to the ER, I'm like, there's two things I don't do. I don't do eyeballs and I don't do vaginas.
All right. Okay.
Okay.
That's an earful. Okay. And lastly, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Oh, heaven exists, and all of her, all the panel of women would
Okay.
say, "Welcome."
All right. All right. That is beautiful. Well, thank you again. Thank you so much, Yolanda, for having the time to come on. This has definitely been fun and enlightening. And again, if you guys would like to get in contact with Yolanda, her information is going across the ticker at the bottom. And this video will be available for replay if you need to check back to get the information. So thank you again, Yolanda. And to my guest, we will be on again tomorrow. Tomorrow at 7 p.m., talking with Octavia Brewer about being a Black woman in direct sales. So please jump on.
Can I mention one more thing before we go?
Absolutely, please do.
I'm coming out with my new product, Fix Your Fungal Nail. It's coming out. It is, if you have ugly toenails, I got something. It's going to eradicate those ugly nails. It's going to clear it up. They're going to be pretty, and you'll be sandal and beach feet ready.
All right. So you guys are getting that like tip. You know, you're getting it first right here with Black
You're
Girls.
getting the tip right here, and then also you got to follow me on Instagram, because when I have flash sales, I'm going to go on live. I'll go on live for 1 hour. The flash sale will only happen that hour, and the only way you will know is if what?
You're following you on Instagram.
That's right.
And that is
that's on Fix Your Feet.
All right. And thank you again. So you guys, I'll see you tomorrow on Black Girls Unforgettable and Unscripted. And until then, have a great evening.
All right. Good night.
Good night.